All right. So, welcome to Pinterest's first webinar. We created this webinar to help new businesses like you better understand how Pinterest works so you can get the most out of it. For this first webinar, we're going to cover four main things. What is Pinterest and how does it work? You'll learn about how pins are created and how they're cycled and amplified through Pinterest. You'll also learn about how you can easily get started by building your Pinterest page. And lastly, we'll cover simple tips to help people discover your content. I hope this sounds good. So let's get started. To give a little background, my name is Vivian. I'm here in the red box. And this is Matt. We're on the Partner Success team, and our goal is to help businesses like you better understand how to use Pinterest for your business and get the most out of it. First off, and to begin, I want to talk a little bit about what is Pinterest. Pinterest is a visual discovery tool where millions of people worldwide use to discover and collect the things they love. And discovery is about finding something unexpected. It happens every day in the real world, and it happens in spaces that are curated and created by people. The physical world is largely organized around discovery, and there are spaces organized around interests where people can discover things that they like, whether it's in a supermarket or in a baby boutique, where you discover fun things to help your baby grow. You don't know exactly what you're looking for, but you end up picking up a couple things that you discovered while browsing in the store. And I'm definitely guilty of that. And similar to discovering things in a baby boutique, Pinterest is the place to discover your interests on the web in a visual way. For example, millions of people could be interested in running. And on Pinterest, you can find information about the best local running trails, different kinds of workout gear, and even training plans to help runners of all stages. You can discover new places you'd like to travel to, or even create a collection of all the places that you've visited before with your friends and family. You can also find new recipes on that special Thanksgiving day and find new recipes from people who also love to cook all over the world. Pinterest is the place where millions of people discover their interests. And to summarize, we help people discover the things they love and inspire them to do those things. Before we talk about how to use Pinterest for your business, I wanted to briefly talk about a couple components of Pinterest. We're going to start by covering three basic things: pin, board, and profile. To start, we're going to talk about the pin. Imagine you're browsing the internet and you come across a recipe that you really like. The only way you can save this on the web is by either bookmarking this pin to your browser or copying the link and saving it in your email. In this case, instead of bookmarking it to your browser, you can create a pin. A pin is essentially a visual bookmark where you can save an image and a link from the same web page so you can look at it for later. And Pinterest is made up of billions of pins, which are images collected from and organized by people. It's a highly visual, interactive bookmark that links back to the site from where it came from. Pins are born to be saved, shared, and clicked. So this is a picture of a pin that I created from Macy's.com. While I was browsing Macy's, I decided that I really liked this pin and I wanted to save it for later. And the best part is, if I wanted to, I can click through on this pin and go back to that same page where I can purchase this shoe from, just through the click of a button. And as I'm collecting all these pins, there needs to be a way to organize them. That's what boards are for. Boards are a collection of pins that were curated to represent an interest around a common theme. In this case, what you're looking at is my board called Shoes for Steven, and it's a collection of all the pins that I'd love to buy for my husband one day. And here's a little snapshot of all the pins that I've collected and curated over time that I'd love to buy for him one day. And similar to how pins are organized on boards, your boards can be organized on your profile. Your profile shows you more information about who you are and things that you care about. We'll touch on how you can set up your profile later. Some other information that you can see here is information about how many followers I have and how many people I'm following. Here, as you can see, I have 514 followers and I'm following 13 people. Your followers are essentially people that enjoy the things that you share on your boards. And here's a little snapshot of all the boards that I have on my profile. And as you can see, the very last board is my Shoes for Steven board that we just talked about a little earlier. Some other things that I'm interested in are festivals and San Francisco coffee. What we covered so far is that pins are created on the web and they're curated and organized by people on Pinterest. On top of this, pins are so much more than just bookmarks. These pins can now be discoverable to others. Let's talk about how pins are discovered on Pinterest through the home feed, category, and search. And let's start by understanding how people can discover content through their home feed. The home feed shows pins that belong to boards you follow. When you follow a board, new pins added to that same board will show up in your home feed. And this is the first thing you see when you log into your account. As you can see in my home feed, I'm following Mike's wearable art board, and he just added a couple of pins in there. Those are the jewelry pins that you see there. Besides your home feed, if you want to get a little more specific, you can discover things through categories. So on today, I'd say I'm interested in actually looking at products. I can click the button on the upper left-hand corner to see a list of categories that I'm right here, and I'm interested in the product category out of all of these categories, right there. And when I click on that, I can see a large feed of all the most popular product pins. The third way of discovering content is if I knew exactly what I was looking for on Pinterest and I'm interested in men's shoes, for example, I can search for that term in the search bar and find those particular pins in there. Bam. Here's a list, and here's a feed of all of the pins that contain the word men's shoes. Search is a great way to discover new things by typing in specific terms or keywords. Now that you know how you can discover and find pins that relate to you, you can start building out your boards. And there's two main ways of adding pins into your boards, and it's so easy. The first way is adding pins while you're on Pinterest, and the second way happens when you're just simply browsing the web and you want to save something you like for later. When you're in Pinterest, you can add a pin to your favorite board by discovering it through your home feed, categories, and search by clicking the Pin It button. In this example, I've typed in men's shoes in the search bar, and I found a pin that I love, this one that I'm hovering over. You can click on the Pin It button and add it to your favorite board. Now, another way to add pins to your board happens when you're browsing on the internet and you stumble on something you really like. If you see a Pin It button here, you can click the Pin It button and add it to your favorite board. Click the Pin It button, and out pops the Pin It dialog. And I'm going to add it to my favorite Go Outside board. Pin it. When you add it to your board in real time, if you go back into Pinterest, you can see that that pin now becomes part of my board. Right there. Now a couple things happen also when you add pins to your board. You see that I have 705 followers over there that are following my board? Well, the 705 followers can now see this pin in their home feed simply by me adding it in there. Also, at that same time, this same pin can now show up in categories such as outdoors. And also people can search for this pin in search by looking at the terms North Face Terra 65. And in case you're wondering about what is the role in businesses in this entire discovery experience is, well, businesses like you are the source of great content on Pinterest. You're helping people discover the things that they love by making it really easy for pinners to collect, share, and organize the content from your site. You help people pursue their interests, whether it's running, cooking, or even traveling. And now that you're a little more familiar with Pinterest, let's discuss the basics of how Pinterest works and how it can work for your business. By making it really easy to pin from your website, you can enable even more people to generate your content on your behalf. When pins are created, shared, and clicked, more and more people can engage with your content. These pins can show up in home feeds, categories, and search, ready to be discovered. And as even more and more people discover your content through others, they'll increase the distribution of your pin and help you amplify it. Imagine the impressions that are created from people pinning from your website, repinning it into their specific boards, and then clicking back to your website to find out more information and even purchasing it. You can definitely see a network effect going on here. And you know that same pin that was created from REI.com can now be found on all of these boards. This is what we call the pin cycle. Discovery on web, adding it to Pinterest in their favorite board, having others with similar interests add this to their board, and clicking through back to the website from where it came from. On it goes. People find, click, and save on the pins that they love. Now you know all about the pin cycle and how it can ultimately drive traffic back to your website. It's time to give you really easy tips on building your Pinterest presence.
Thanks, Vivian. Hi, I'm Matt on the Pinterest Partners team. So Vivian's covered the basics of what Pinterest is and how it works. I'm going to cover some of the information to help you get started on Pinterest. I'll be focusing on helping you create a profile, curating great boards, which will help you build a good foundation for success on Pinterest. First things first, though, you have to sign up for a business account. You can do this by going to business.pinterest.com and either signing up for a new account or converting an existing personal account to a business account if you're actually a business. Once you've gone through the sign-up flow, you'll be brought to a view of editing your profile. Here you're going to want to make sure you have your business name, a high-quality photo, a username that might relate to your business, some information about yourself, your location, and make sure to list your website and also verify it. Once that's complete, your profile will look like this, and we chose Whole Foods because they have a great example of a well-built profile. They started with a recognizable high-quality logo. They updated their display name and added a descriptive paragraph under it. And they also told their audience where they're located, Austin, Texas. And make sure you list and verify your website. Also to note, verification will give you access to analytics, which is great to see how pinners are engaging with your content. We're not going to dive into analytics today, but we'll cover it in a future webinar. So now we're looking at Whole Foods profile page. As Vivian mentioned, the profile page is a collection of all your boards and pins. Here, Whole Foods did an amazing job, and one thing I want to point out is an amazing job of diversifying the pins on their board. They weren't just pinning pins that are related to products or items they could buy at Whole Foods. They were pinning things that told something about their brand, that they really want to resonate with their customers. around things around organic food, maybe even a foundation or a nonprofit they're involved with the Whole Planet Foundation, and even Sweet Tooth for some sweets. And one thing I want to note at the top of this board here is the icon that we have circled. This signifies that this is a group board, and a group board enables you to invite others to collaborate and share pins. It is also a great way to diversify the content within that board. As an example of that, I want to highlight a partnership between iVillage and Whole Foods for their Healthy 2014 board. As you can see in this case, iVillage is a content contributor, and they've contributed content to this board in addition to Whole Foods. That's a little bit more, I guess, diversified than just, hey, this is something you can buy at Whole Foods. You'll see there are things you can just buy at Whole Foods, but there's also stuff about doing planks and doing exercises, some motivational pins. And the idea here is that the people that are interested in things that they can buy at Whole Foods might also have shared interests with things that iVillage brings to this board of Healthy 2014. So now that we talked about actually getting set up on your profile, how the pin process works, how boards work, let's talk about how you can make content on Pinterest more discoverable. Now, I want to break this down into two ways. The first way is your activity on Pinterest, and the second way is your website. So in terms of your activity in Pinterest and helping you become more discoverable, we recommend that you pin regularly. It can be once a day or multiple times a day. If you're going to do a bunch of pins, we recommend that you spread it out throughout the day. It keeps it fresh in your followers' home feeds and keeps you top of mind. Also, a good way to kind of grow your follower base is to actually follow other people's boards that have shared interests. They might follow you back. The more that you pin then will show up in their home feed. They might pin that and their followers will see it as well. Also, make sure that every pin has a great description. As Vivian mentioned earlier, there is a search capability on Pinterest, and we help match pins to pinners based on keywords. So the better your description is in your pin, the more likely people will be able to discover that pin on Pinterest. And lastly, make sure all your pins link back to your website. Again, if you want to get traffic to your website, you need to have a link that is connected to the pin. And last, a way to help yourself be more discoverable is by optimizing your website for Pinterest. And one really easy way that you can do that is getting a pin it button on your site. We found that images and content on websites that have pin it buttons are much more likely to be pinned. It's very easy for a pinner to go to your website, see something they like, want to save it for later, and actually pin it onto Pinterest. And once they do that, it'll reach their followers and potentially their followers and so on, as Vivian mentioned, with a network effect. If you have more questions about installing the pin it button, go to business.pinterest.com. So, just to kind of recap the value creation for partners that Pinterest brings, it all starts with an amazing pin created from a website, as you can see here. That pin is then on Pinterest. It's discoverable through searching categories, and from there, people discover it, they repin it, they click on it, they take action on it, and it increases the distribution and awareness. And for the distribution awareness comes engagement with people on Pinterest. So the more times it's clicked, it's repinned, it's saved to boards, increases the engagement and likelihood that people will actually drive to your website potentially or learn more about your brand, and then ultimately hopefully increase your sales. So I just wanted to recap that a click to your website is really just a pin linking to your website is just one click away from driving traffic. So here you have a visual example of a pin on Pinterest linking back to your original website. So, two takeaways I want to leave with you today. Businesses play a big part in the discovery experience on Pinterest, and you can make your brand and products more discoverable by optimizing your Pinterest page and inspiring people to pin and create great content. And remember, it all starts with a pin. Thanks a lot for taking the time to view this webinar today. We'll be sending the webinar out via email and also posting it onto YouTube. For those of you that sign up to attend, we'll also be sending out a survey to get some additional feedback. Thanks a lot and have a great day.